peace, 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 peace. I love all y'all. All my relations. I love myself. Cyanide crew. The walls are not protecting us. They're keeping us divided that you can trust. Tear down those imaginary walls. Tear down those imaginary walls.
Hate crimes are up in the U.S. for the third consecutive year.
A rise in anti-Semitic vandalism over the last few months.
People were murdered for their faith. It's not just saying something anymore.
The third Black Baptist church to burn in 10 days.
A disturbing assault, which is now being investigated as a hate crime.
The 51-year-old white man opened fire and killed 2 elderly African-American customers.
Tear down those imaginary walls. Tear down those imaginary walls. Tear down those imaginary walls. Tear down those imaginary walls.
I want to just welcome everyone. This is a racial healing circle. We've held these circles for over 30 years. And the first question is, how do you identify yourself racially, ethnically?
I would consider myself, I guess, Caucasian, Jewish background, second-generation Holocaust survivor.
I identify as Asian American. I identify as a daughter of an immigrant.
I grew up identifying as Black or African American.
I consider myself a Black person that happens to live in America. I am not an African American. I am not a Negro. I am not any of those other things. I've always been a Black person that happens to live in America.
I am American on paper, but in my mind and in my spirit, I still dream about the lions in Africa, and I cannot say that I am an American in my heart. And I'm saying this because everywhere I go in this great land, the moment I open my mouth, people want to know where I come from.
So my name is Aisha, and I've been struggling with this identification thing for a long time because...
In 1988, Aisha and Kokoman Clotty held their first racial healing circle to help participants deal with the impact that racism has had on their lives. Since then, the couple has conducted more than 400 circles, transforming thousands of people in the process.
A circle is a complete process. In the circle, everyone is equal.
In a racial healing circle, participants take turns speaking without interruption based on a series of questions. It's less of a conversation and more of a chance to be heard and to listen.
People feel safe. People feel that they will not be judged, and they can talk about this difficult challenge. And we also use talking stick. We borrowed that from the Native Americans. Talking stick is very, very powerful. If you don't have the talking stick, you are not permitted to speak.
It's not anything we're doing to make that person better, but that person is becoming better because they're able to share and talk about their feelings without feeling like they're wrong. It's not so much as what's out there, it's what's going on inside of you. And if you point the finger at someone, 3 fingers are pointed back at yourself. Can you look within? So that's the work. It's being able to look inside of yourself and see your own imperfections and know that if you're looking at an imperfect world, that imperfect world first started within yourself.
It's like an onion. You keep peeling it. You peel one layer, and then another one come up.
I'm pouring my coffee.
Aisha and Kokoman have lived in Oakland, California for decades.
And what are you thinking about the election?
Something local.
The local people for mayor is right here. Now the incumbent is Libby Schaaf. What do you think?
I like...
And then treasurer, Fiona Ma. Race is a human construction. This whole issue, we created it. So how do we uncreate it? What do we do to end it?
For Aisha, ending the pain of racism is part of a long journey, one that started during her childhood.
I grew up in a small town in Louisiana called Coshada. The community where I grew up in was an all-Black community. When you go to an all-black school and your parents work for themselves, I never thought about race. I never thought about color. I was still very naive and very sheltered. And when I got to UC Berkeley, that's when I began to understand I was different in terms of color. We had a wonderful guy that came on campus. His name was Farrakhan. And so he began to talk about color. And I remember he was talking about whites. And he said, white man is the devil. Because everything that they do, they want to look at ways in which they see themselves as being better than other people.
When white people open the door to let you into college, they're not letting you in because they love you. There's another trap for you if you're not wise to see your way around it. We've got to open our eyes to see the trick. What kind of foolishness is that you want to engage in?
And I was like, oh, that's it. That's what's wrong. Because I was looking for a solution. In my worldview, this was the solution. And that's one of the reasons why I became a black Muslim. But I think what drew me out of that culture was when I began to look at other resources. And I looked at the science of mind. I looked at other religions. Then I looked at other political worldviews. And I began to really question, whether or not this was working. I had to unlearn all of this, of what I think I am. I really want to learn truly about what it means to be a human being. I want to welcome everyone to the Racial Healing Circle. This is really an important time for us to take a moment to be authentic, to share our feelings, and to know that whatever happens in the circle stays in the circle.
Well, my name is Kokomon, and I was born into the Ga tribe of Ghana. In my language, we don't have this thing called race, where people are looked at less down or different colors and so on and so forth. I was truly affected by this when I came to the United States. And I have no way or no one to talk about it until I marry Aisha.
So color is something that we're going to look at now, and how that impacts race, and how color, it keeps us from really connecting with each other. We define ourselves, and we want to feel warm and cozy with people that we feel comfortable with. And, I think we make it up as we go along.
So I love color. Color is about culture. People have got to get to the point where they just see each other as just beautiful specimens of nature and embrace the diversity that each culture brings.
I do remember from a very early age thinking that I was lucky. I was lucky to be a white American boy. It's very strange to me now, thinking about that kid. How did that kid know that he was lucky to be white? It's crazy. And it just feels weird to me as an American that we seem to have one of the worst problems in the world. And with all that we're taught about our melting pot and our ability to get along, why it seems to be so difficult for us to deal with it here.
When I came to this country from Ghana, West Africa, I went to Los Angeles to go to music school. And I was the only black or African in the program. And anytime I thought I opened my mouth to speak and ask questions, the young men think I have the most funniest accent or voice on the planet. So I was a joke. This really left an indelible mark on me that I will not speak in public until Aisha and I started, addressing this racial healing and the impact and so on and so forth. Because I'm not going to change the way I speak. And so I get this confidence and healing, which is very, very profound for me personally, that I was able to gain the respect and, from attending these numerous of circles.
Since 1989, racial healing circles have been held monthly at the Attitudinal Healing Connection in West Oakland. The couple founded the community center to help their neighbors deal with the impacts of racism. But over the years, the center has also offered dozens of programs for adults and children.
We introduced mindful drumming.
Also, the children can come here and do workshops. So it became a truly...
Yeah, a true community center.
The philosophy behind these circles arose out of work that Dr. Jerry Jampolsky developed. Jampolsky is a Bay Area psychiatrist who pioneered a new method for helping terminally ill children manage their emotions. He called his work attitudinal healing, and it attracted attention nationwide, even getting Jampolsky onto television with Mr. Rogers. After meeting Dr. Jampolsky, Aisha thought she could use attitudinal healing to address the effects of racism.
Jerry was working with children who were dying from life-threatening illnesses. I really was looking at color and how race and how we were dying from racism. So we defined racism as a life-threatening illness that we're all dying from. Either we're killing each other or we're minimizing each other.
But Aisha's work truly began after a chance encounter with a young boy in Africa.
And we went to Ghana, and while we were in Ghana, it was this little boy, and I was really connecting with him. And then he went home and told his mother that there were 2 white women in the compound. Kokoman's other brother, his wife from Germany, was visiting, and I was visiting with Kokoman. He says 2 white women in the compound, and one have black skin and the other one have white skin. So the little boy did not see me as being different than the white German because he saw us both as being Europeans. So I was like really, really upset about that. It wasn't until I was back on the plane, headed back home, that I realized the little boy had really given me a gift. Because he wasn't looking at my skin color, he was looking at my culture. It wasn't until then I began to understand the difference that Kokoman's culture and I had been looking at our skin tone thinking we were the same. And I realized that culturally, we're very, very different.
For Aisha, it was clear that she wanted to create a place where people could talk about and heal from their confusion about race and color. Racial healing circles were born, with attitudinal healing at their core. Attitudinal healing is an inward-looking philosophy that uses 12 foundational principles. Through their work at the Attitudinal Healing Center and their friendships in the community, Kokoman and Aisha have become enmeshed in the fabric of Oakland.
Oakland has always been diverse. In fact, in the early 90s, it got an award for being the All-American City. So we have to really look at ways that we can accentuate the positive and accentuate good news. And so this is what we really want to really focus on. What are some of the things that's positive and that's good in the neighborhood that's happening?
Part of the couple's work is to circulate and interact with their friends and neighbors in West Oakland. Miss Cook has known Aisha for decades.
She's filling a gap that has been lost. I'm talking about being able to connect, okay? Little simple things like a bunch of teenage girls getting together on a Saturday afternoon and doing each other's hair. That's where you learn the manners. That's where you learn to navigate. That's where you, good, bad, or different, learned a little bit about the facts of life, distorted as they may be. But I mean, I'm serious about that. That's where it was a safe place for you to vent or at least talk those things through.
What's going on, man?
Kokoman makes his own rounds in the neighborhood. He and Mr. James love to trade stories.
And then one kid comes, he said, so Kokomo, tell us, how far is from your house in Africa to here? And I said, 14,000 miles. Then another kid came. Then he said, how do you sleep in Africa? And I said, we close our eyes. That's a good answer. He said, no, that's not what I mean. He said, we were told that you sleep on trees. I said, only the monkeys sleep on trees.
Adriana. I'm good, Adriana.
Very good.
Are they open?
Yeah. They say open.
How you doing?
When we started the work here, our goal was not to change anybody, but operate from what Mahatma Gandhi, his wisdom is be the change you want to see in the world.
Because you never know who's going to be touched. And so that's what we're doing now. We hope everyone take a moment to look at what's going on. And then you never know, somebody may change. Okay, thank you.
The Cletties' work in the community brings people in. Neighbors are drawn to the attitudinal healing connection to talk about their issues, and the pain of racism is a common thread.
I don't fit their stereotype of what Native Americans should look like. Or in their case, they called me an Indian. I'm not Indian. I'm Lakota. It still hurts. If somebody says to me, you know, your skin isn't the right color, your face is not the right color.
If you're going to talk about an issue that concerns everybody, you need to bring everybody to the table. So that's why we created the circle. And using the talking piece, that if this person has the talking piece, they are going to be the ones talking about their issue. And everybody else listens.
In Africa, like so many, and all over the world, people are using bleaching cream because they want to be white. And they don't see their own skin as beautiful. And like, why is that? It's just mind-boggling that we've internalized that self-hate over time, you know. So when Jim is talking about feeling so lucky that he was white, that, you know, yeah, there was a reason to feel that way.
A lot of money is created by telling people that they are not beautiful because of their color.
Before coming to America, color used to mean a lot for me. I used to be addicted to bleach creams because I thought being lighter skin is more beautiful. And my husband used to tell me, I don't want you to change your color. My brothers and father didn't like this, but all women like to be changing their colors. But after coming here, I changed my idea about that and I stopped using bleach creams at all. I have my sister, she believes in that, and she stopped using bleach creams, and my other sister too, and now I'm trying to tell people more about not using these products. They should love the way they are.
In the dictionary, angels are described as white and devil is black. So the only place black is good is on Wall Street. When you are in the black.
I too carry some of those prejudgments in me with people that I don't know. And it's not until I actually get to know them that I see we're all dealing with similar kinds of issues in our life. Wanting to be accepted, wanting to be loved, wanting to belong.
I feel like sitting here and listening to everyone's story, I realized that there was like a wave of sadness that just kind of came over me. And so like I had to pull out my tissue and I don't know if there's any other tissue out there, but I just got sad because really why? The whole idea that this is a reality, it just sickens me. I'm just sick and tired of it.
It's like strangling, it's suffocating to carry white superiority. One, it's not true. One, it's a myth. So when you believe it, you're just like, you know, believing that it's fine that you're suffocating. How awful is that? It's amazing how separate the walls are, and that once I start to break through these imaginary walls, that life seems to be able to pour through, that love starts to be able to pour through. I can't imagine not having this richness a part of my life.
Well, the real test of this circle and the wisdom that's from this circle is when conflict happens, are you able to be peaceful inside regardless of what is happening outside? That's the test of the work. In the midst of the conflict, are you able to move this forward?
one thing that happened for me when I do the dishes, immediately I become very peaceful because I'm not watching the news. I'm feeling the water, you know, and scientists tell us that in our human body, as you know, high percentage of our body is water. So when I'm washing dishes and I'm feeling the energy of water, the water reminds me of all the water in my body, and it brings a lot of peace to me. Listening to the water and feeling the water. And I shouldn't have tell Aisha this story because she go behind my back to do the dishes. People tell me that there's a lot of fighting in their home because who is going to do the dishes? Well, now you know that in our fight we are fighting who's going to do the dishes first.
While racial healing circles are self-contained, sometimes the conversations that start there carry on.
I think somewhere along the line, my heart got blocked about extending out into the community.
When I first looked at the principles of attitudinal healing, and the very first principle says the essence of our being is love. I used to always, whenever I read it, I would say the essence of my being is love. And I used to wonder, why do I take that hour out and put mine? And I realized that basically I'm thinking the essence of my being is love, but I don't know about you people out there. You guys may not be.
Right.
But then when you say the essence of our being is love, it includes all of us. Not just me.
That's where the truth lies, too, with you being a different color, with you being black. There was a certain fascination for me, and I feel like you handled my fascination because I felt like I was pretty open about it.
You were very open about it, and I was thinking, get over it. You know, at some point you're going to see I'm just another human being, and that you and I have more in common than me and my husband, who's from the continent of Africa. So because I don't speak another language, I'm basically immersed in this culture. My foreparents have been here for over 500 years, so I don't know anything else. So I was thinking to myself, she's excited about something that's not real. You know, so I figure over time you'll begin to see past the color of my skin.
I think it wasn't only color. I think it was also who you are. I was experiencing more of an awareness of the racism within me as thoughts. That these racist thoughts would come out of nowhere. And, you know, through my spiritual practices, I've come to see that, you know, I'm not responsible for what arises in my consciousness, and I don't have to believe everything that arises in my consciousness. So when an insane thought arises, particularly a racist thought, I don't have to believe it. I can just acknowledge it, be thankful that I don't believe it, and let it go. So I see it as a kind of a cleansing for me, a cleansing of old conditioning that came, I think, mostly from my culture. So I feel very grateful for all the experiences I've had in coming to the racial healing circles.
The power of choice is yours. You can choose and direct. I can't choose and direct Bayan, but I can choose and direct my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own actions. And I think that's the only power we really have, is the power to choose.
And we can choose love. We can choose beauty.
Right. But it's not about me agreeing with that person. It's about me being able to see and be vulnerable to what that person is saying and know that it's okay. I'm not there to change that person. I make that person be however I may want them to be. I am there to just accept whatever it is they're saying and know that that's their truth.
You should not be wearing that in the United States of America.
Okay.
Are you a citizen?
Yes, I am a
Are you
citizen.
a United States citizen?
Can you please get away from me?
Why are you in our country anyway? We're gonna kill all of you. We're gonna kill every one of you.
That's why you're fucking dinners in these tapes. Oh, don't say that.
I'm a beaner. I'm an Arab. I'm an Arab.
I don't know why you hate us. Why do you hate us? Because we're Mexicans?
Tell me why I'm in a lift and the nigga fucking pulled over. All that Black Lives Matter is bullshit.
Fucking Chinese eyes. Fucking eyes.
I'm not Chinese.
Motherfucker, get the fuck out of my country.
Well, welcome. Thank you for coming. Can I get my name is and your title, how you'd like us to introduce
my
you?
My name is Aisha Clate. I am an author, and I am also a founder of the Attitudinal Healing Connection in Oakland, California. And
that's who
I'm
you
a human
are.
being.
All right. In these times, since the election, since these racial divides that are happening, this mistrust that is happening, this principle is saying, despite all of that, you can choose to be peaceful. How does that
See, that's why we wrote the book on happiness, Our Eternal Quest for Happiness. We may not choose what happened to us, but we can choose what we do about it. Once we begin to see that you have that kind of power, I think is really, really important. So we can choose and direct ourselves to be peaceful inside, regardless of what is happening outside. And attitudinal healing affirms that we are responsible for our thoughts and whatever feelings we experience. Most times it's like, the devil made me do it. I'm not responsible. So that's the work, to really, really focus on that we are responsible. Now, this is not easy work.
If it was easy, it would have happened a long time
Right. That's what I'm
ago.
saying. It's not easy work.
Okay, I think we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here.
Back in Oakland, the Attitudinal Healing Connection has outgrown its space. The organization is moving to a new location.
We needed to expand, and the new executive director wanted more space. So that's one of the reasons. I think it's a good thing. It's a real good thing. At first I was resistant. I don't like change. Kokomo is more open to it.
This was an article, Couple Promote Attitudinal Healing of Racism.
This is sad because it shows you how long we've been doing this work. This is 1999, and we've been doing it during that time since 1989. So that was 10 years. And the issue is more prevalent now than ever. The fact that we're still doing this is just amazing. You think it'd be over with by now?
With support from community-focused foundations and private donations, the Attitudinal Healing Connection is able to expand to a larger, more centrally located facility. Aisha tours the new space before its grand opening.
It's really warm. It's nice. I like it.
I don't need to tell you that this entire nation needs some attitudinal healing right now. And that this is a space that is doing that through the undeniable power of art, of community, and of our children. Thank you, everyone who is here, for being part of this miraculous organization that is led by people with not just the largest hearts, but the largest souls that I have ever felt. It truly is an honor to be here in this magical new space. Thank you.
We need your support to grow this work, to inspire our young people, and to make sure our communities are beautiful with color and art.
This center has just grown incredibly, and they've worked so hard to put this together and get people to support them. And her heart has been totally committed to this work and to all the different types of healing that they offer and helping people find a sense of importance and a sense of love and hope.
"80 miles away in Sacramento, racial healing circles are on the rise. Social activists have trained with Kokoman and Aisha and are expanding the circles throughout the region.
In my mind, the racial healing circles are fulfilling a need for a healing mechanism that reflects the root cause of the pain. We've recently come across several different racially charged incidents, both in the high schools and the community. And I think where I have seen the gap is in creating space for people to be able to just come and talk about how hard and how painful those experiences have been on them, even if they weren't directly part of the actual incident. Just by virtue of it having a racial undertone or being racially charged, that brings up a lot of pain for people as well. It just felt like the racial healing circles could potentially be an incredible answer to a very big need.
The reason that I became interested in racial healing circles was because I have experienced a lot of pain and trauma growing up as a child and even as an adult. And I've been trying to find outlets that would help me heal from those wounds, and oftentimes those outlets have not been as conducive or positive or productive.
In order to expand racial healing circles in Sacramento, Fatima and Rangane will train circle keepers to form and lead their own healing circles. Each circle keeper becomes part of an expanding network for racial healing.
Hello. Hi.
They've come to Oakland to consult with Aisha and Kokoman. The couple is eager to hear how their vision is beginning to spread.
The level of response from the community to be trained as a circle keeper has been overwhelming. We were planning to provide this training for 20, maybe 30 people. And right now we have about 60 to 75 people who are interested and have signed up. And we want to host 8 circles this coming year.
The strategy is to train people how to hold a racial healing circle. That is something that we didn't think about, that actually we should train people how to do this.
These circles are not for everyone. And these circles are for those who voluntarily choose to be a part of the healing process. We know that individuals are at varying levels of readiness to deal with their own healing process. Who is most affected, who is most vulnerable from the effects of racism? So the victims, perhaps, or those who have witnessed or experienced a higher level of racism, find these circles to be more valuable to them.
Something that I want to bring for discussion is social media. Maybe some people in Philadelphia want to see what we are doing here in California.
I appreciate that we're thinking both about the near and the far future in this conversation. I just felt like saying, thank you for sharing your wisdom and bestowing that on us, because we wouldn't be able to do this without your guidance.
We're passing the baton on.
And we are graciously and humbly accepting it, receiving it, yes.
The ways in which Aisha and Kokoman create space is very warm. It's inviting. It's you're overwhelmed with the feeling of safety.
It's a beautiful space.
You like this space?
It's gorgeous.
Great,
yes.
thank you.
In everyday normal life, we are taught not to have feelings and not to show feelings, let alone to even, let your guard down. And so I think having that level of authenticity that they bring and that they provide and allow for others to be able to experience and share was very pivotal.
There was something very spiritual, something very sacred about the work that they were doing and the work that they were teaching us how to do.
Most people don't realize that this requires a lot of tenacity, commitment, and that you're putting your time into it.
The Circle Keeper training continues to expand, with UC Davis now hosting racial healing circles. Fatima is asked to lead a presentation on circles in the Sacramento area.
Our facilitators, I have to really acknowledge them. Aisha and Kokoman Klati from the Attitudinal Healing Connection in Oakland, they really opened this gateway into this world of doing this work. And so we embarked on this journey to be trained as leaders to do this work and to grow this community of healing.
I think you may want to put a little arugula with this kale.
Okay.
That's good.
Aisha and Kokoman prepare some new, in-depth questions for a racial healing circle.
Looks good, huh? So what are some of the questions that you want?
When did you first become aware of racial differences?
I think a really important question is, what is your internal biases? How do you define your internal biases? I feel that I'm going deeper and deeper into this understanding of humanity, but I also feel sometimes that I'm not going deeper, that I'm basically just wishing that things would get better and things aren't getting better. When we first started the circles, I did think we could save people, that we could save the world. You know, in fact, I had long dreadlocks, and I said, I'll grow these dreadlocks until the world is at peace. And I realized the world would never be at peace. And I cut all my dreadlocks off.
Parents raising concerns about what they call blatant racism targeted at their kids.
Students from Newport Harbor High School posted these pictures on Snapchat.
They're saying the N-word directly to me.
You're saying that I can't have a hairstyle because of your culture? Why?
Other students we spoke with say they are disgusted but not surprised.
I don't know what I did wrong besides the color of my skin.
Young people in West Oakland gather for a racial healing circle to discuss their own experiences.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. And let's begin. Start by stating your name and how you identify yourself.
I'm Tyrese, and I identify as Black.
My name's Nika. I identify as Azerbaijani, Iranian, American. I'm pretty sure people mostly think that I'm white. Being perceived as white makes mobility in white spaces easier for me, usually, and then also makes people of color trust me less, I think, when I first meet them.
My name is Mike, and I identify as a Black American. Growing up, I was always being called the N-word by somebody.
My name is Ivy, and I identify as Chinese, Jamaican, and white. But as my dad always says to us, I am supposed to identify as a human, because that is my race. Already being seen as a fair skin, everyone instantly just says I'm white. Then they see my hair and they're like, oh wait, you're mixed with something. And my dad told me that I actually lost friends in elementary school because the parents found out my dad was Black.
I think, well, it's hard for me to pinpoint, but I think ethnically especially, I realized that I was different continuously. Like, I remember in elementary school, my dad would come pick me up and he was picking grape leaves off of the walls outside to make dolma. And I was like, Bubba, stop, you know? And he was like, this is for dinner tonight, you know? And I'm like, nobody else does this here. Nobody else does this.
You know, I have a very diverse friend group and everything. Like, it's still like at the end of the day, like my skin's white, you know what I mean? But I don't really have a ton to complain about because like I'm a white male in America and I like recognize that privilege.
That was all really deep. I appreciate you all for sharing.
For me, it was a completely new experience coming to that youth racial healing circle. I think that racial healing circles are fucking awesome. You get a group of motherfuckers from all these different places, right? And they get together and they sit down and they gotta talk with each other. But it'll get people out of the limited circles of perception that they know and get them to see the world that's beyond, you know?
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with all of you. It's a beautiful thing.
I have nothing. They definitely get your noggin jogging.
So this is pretty much the question where you talk about examples of any explicit or implicit racism or racial prejudice that you experience or witness in your lifetime. So yeah, story time.
It always depends on like the context of the space of where I'm at. Like if I'm at school, most people know me as the president of the BSU, and so I know people on campus will see, oh, an African American who's a leader. But once I leave campus, if I'm walking down the street and it's me and another person and that person isn't black, they're like, I can see the fear that's like slowly registering in them as we get closer. And over the years, I've like specifically placed myself in spaces where there are more black people or it was all black people because I didn't want to go through that same process of this person thinks like that. I don't feel like talking to them. I don't feel like changing their mind, you feel me?
From my 7th grade science class, we had to like write articles about like topics of global warming or something. So I chose like polar bears and like what was happening. And when I was finished, I like turned it in, and then she came over and she asked me, "Did you actually write this?" What do you say to that? Like someone blatantly underestimating like your abilities and your intelligence.
When I was at St. Mary's freshman year, I would always like enter conversations hesitantly. I remember like being like super self-conscious about like every conversation that I would have. Make sure I'm picking and choosing my words in a way that wouldn't kind of like prove any preconceptions true, you know what I mean?
Black people always ask me what I'm mixed with. Other races, you know, automatically assume that I'm, you know, black, just black, you know? How does that affect my day? How do I feel about that? Honestly, I don't care. That's how I live my life. Because wondering about what somebody else thinks or feels or how they view me isn't gonna help me grow or progress in any way. It's not gonna help me on my mission. And it's not gonna help me accomplish any of my goals. If anything, it's gonna create obstacles in my life. And so that's when it boils down to like your self-esteem. How you feel about yourself. Because in the long run, really, that's what matters.
So what steps do you take now and will you take to positively impact the national challenges of race?
You can't try and show someone what you've gone through if you can't listen to what they've gone through. They're not gonna listen to you. So from here, I'm gonna keep having those conversations and keep pushing people to like think a little bit out of their box, out of their norm, think about everyone else that has to experience the same thing they just went through, what they would be doing, and not be afraid that maybe people don't want to talk to me anymore. That's okay. But everyone's racist. In all honesty, it's just how blatant you're gonna be.
Yeah. Look, you can tell where they've been eaten by birds, right? There's how many?
Listening out to people's experiences, you know? You know, what a lot of people don't realize is if you shut the fuck up and listen sometimes, then, you know, you might actually learn something. So I try to do that, you know, from time to time. I try to close this and open these motherfuckers to make sure they still work and try to take in and digest, really interpret the information that I'm trying to take in, you know, so.
Going into that, I was very skeptical and not really knowing what was gonna happen. I'd have to say, being a millennial, in our generation, we do see race, and we are racist to each other, but we are a little bit more accepting. We want to bring people together. Wow.
After the circle, Mike and Ivy meet to talk about what they learned and what they're still figuring out.
I left it like just saying, wow, we need to talk about this so much more, way more often. We need to hear stories from more people. We should be talking about it. Why does it matter if I look white? It shouldn't matter what race I am.
Right.
And then you just have to be like, well, I'm black. Everything you think about a black person, you're just gonna throw it on me.
Honestly, I believe that it's about separation. You know, you could call me a nigga all you want. It don't hurt me. It don't hurt me none, you know? It's, you know, call my son a nigga. Go ahead. He's gonna understand.
He's gonna understand it real soon.
That you're gonna be whatever you wanna be. If you wanna be a nigga, you be a nigga. If you don't wanna be a nigga, you're not a nigga.
I would learn very young that why are you using this word if that's the word that brought you down? My parents put that word completely as unacceptable.
It was like armor for me. It wasn't a crutch, it wasn't baggage. And I'm guilty for using it. I still slip up and use it for sometimes. I don't like the word. I don't like what it stands for. The one beautiful thing about the word nigga is just because it just shows in my culture how we could take something that's bad and negative and turn it into something that's endearing for us, something that belongs to us.
Mike and Ivy decide to stay in touch and to keep talking. There's still a lot to discuss. And back at the Attitudinal Healing Connection, Kokoman and Aisha continue to expand the center's outreach and engagement with the Oakland community.
Hey, Miss
Mike,
Aisha.
how you doing? It's so good to see you.
Great, it's so good to see you. How have you been?
Very good, very good.
I was really excited about those racial healing circles, and I feel like we need to do more.
So you're interested in coming to the next one?
Absolutely.
What do you think you really want to focus on in the next circle?
Helping people with their self-esteem. Helping them understand and not just believe, but know that they can do whatever they want, or whatever they set their minds to do.
But you know the circles are not about what they can do, it's about you personally.
You're right. And that's why I'd like to go, and I like to vent, and I like to talk to them and tell them my story a little bit about how, like when I was in the Navy and how I had so many people telling me what I couldn't do, what I can't do, what I was incapable of.
I think you got it because it's not about anybody out there, it's about you personally.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I've seen in our society is people always focus on the guy out there instead of focusing on what's going on inside.
Absolutely.
It's about your own personal growth and how you can sort yourself out.
Okay.
And not about anybody else.
That makes sense.
In Sacramento, Rangane and Fatima are still pushing to expand the Circle Keepers training. To do that, they have to become Circle Keepers themselves.
Part of that training was for us to engage in this work ourselves. So we actually, as Circle Keepers, did a racial healing circle together. We actually participated to understand what that felt like. You know, I realized that there was a degree of resistance that I was feeling in racial healing circles. The Circle Keepers share their own experience because the circles are first and foremost for your healing, right? And to help build your understanding of others and their experiences, but it's really there for your own healing purposes. I had so many experiences with my brother growing up. Here we are with the same parents. We have both very obvious Iranian names, but his skin tone being darker, mine being lighter. Just the way that people would look and treat us differently. He would come home and tell us stories about ways that he was discriminated against. Just by virtue of his skin. And we had the same parents, we had the same upbringing, and his experiences just being so different because of that. And just figuring out, feeling really powerless to, help him. I didn't know how to intervene.
That the training really is about training themselves how to really understand the human race and the role they play, or the part they play, understanding their own perception and understanding of other cultures and races. And only through that understanding, they can really work and facilitate circles and all that.
All right, so the next question I'm going to ask you all to reflect on is how are you using your circle keeping skills in your daily life?
I, in my everyday life, tend to have arguments that go back and forth, and I always find myself trying to convince the other person that my side of the argument or my opinion is more grounded. So I'm trying to just take a moment and just listen and don't even think about what I'm going to say back.
Something that I'm also working on is trying to not correct people. Recognizing that that's not necessarily my role, and that I don't have to feel that need to be someone's teacher or to offer correction all the time.
The racial healing circles have changed my life in so many ways. The most important thing that it's done for me is it's allowed me to remain calm at all times, no matter what turmoil or trauma or conflict I may be faced with. I'm able to remain peaceful participating in that, and I think it's impacted how I interact with others. So while I know I cannot change others, I can change how I am conditioned to respond to different triggers. And I think it's helping me stay grounded and almost be unwavered in my continued commitment to, be who I am, but also be strong enough to be able to withstand a lot of the issues that we deal with on a daily. So when I started to propose the idea of launching a racial healing pilot project, many of my white colleagues questioned whether or not this was even needed. And they even asked, especially the leadership, asked to drop the racial part. And I had to push back and say, no, we're going to be firm in the fact that this is a racial healing project.
So I think the Circle Keepers, in holding that space, part of that is creating the safety, creating a sense of community, creating a sense of come as you are enough.
As elders, we're moving to the other side. And so we need young people to pick up the baton. I think it's really, really important that young people take this work on. It would be nice if they didn't have to do it, but I don't see us not being tribal anytime soon. And as young people, if they begin to do this work, then they are the ones that will benefit from this work.
Thank you all for coming. It's really nice to see you all. The first thing that I wanted to ask you is around how has the racial healing circles impacted your life?
Since the racial healing circles as a participant, and even more so as a circle keeper after receiving that training, what I'm finding is the experience is more deep.
So thinking about that, what do you envision for the work moving forward?
I envision taking this to community spaces like the library, to take this to religious and community building organizations.
Because we're not all alike, but our differences make us better as long as we can hear each other.
In West Oakland, it's the third Wednesday of the month. Friends and strangers arrive for the Racial Healing Circle.
I actually grew up in a small farm town, like way up north.
I want to just welcome everyone, and I want to acknowledge that I have a talking piece. And my parents had 12 kids, so it was a range of colors. When I look at the color thing, I think that's a really important factor in how I define myself.
I am an African in America.
I'm the son of Mexican migrants, so definitely that's a big part of who I am and how I identify.
I identify as probably a lot of different things. So biracial, the first generation of my dad's family to be born in America.
I have been pursuing my identity as a human being as opposed to a white Southern man. I feel pretty good in terms of my progress, not in terms of being done with it. I don't think that'll ever happen. I do know that it has taken a long time for me to cleanse myself of things that just were in my environment that I absorbed and when I was very young and didn't know the difference.
I identify myself as Michael Brown because that's who I am. I write my own story. Nobody dictates that. Anybody that feels differently, they can come challenge that.
When did you first become aware of who you are racially, ethnically, and nationally?
My father said that we needed to keep our house on the outside very neat because he didn't want people to say the Jews lived there.
My mother was allowed to work in the hospitals as a medical record librarian, but my father wasn't. He was told the only thing he could do was be a janitor. My mother was very light-skinned, my father was very dark-skinned. And in California, that was a big difference, and it always has been. Because when you go to the South, you know they don't like you. They make it clear. But when you come to California, they smile at you and they pretend, but they hate you. And they will do everything they can to hurt you. And you have to be aware of that or you'll be attacked by that.
For white people, it's like we get uncomfortable when we say the word white, I feel like kind of like say it quieter, like hush it a little bit.
I was born and raised in a small farm town where I was definitely the token Asian. Like, they didn't even think my brother was my brother because my brother floats more to the white side and I float more to the Asian side. Being biracial in America, a lot of times you're forced to choose. Either you look more white, so you tend to float to that side a little bit more. Or you look more Asian, and you try to identify with that a little more. You know, white people will always see you as Asian, and the Asian people will always tell that you're biracial. I think that's gonna be something I always have to deal with. Yeah, I don't think that's ever gonna change for me.
The hardest times were probably in middle school and elementary school, because that's when you really start picking up on small things. You know, my mom would make little burritos. She'd be like, here, this is your lunch. And I'll be like, sick, I love burritos, you know, these are my thing. And then once I would open it up in my little lunchbox, the other kids would be like, burritos, oh man, those stink, you stink. You're gonna smell like beans. And I was like, shit, can't bring my burritos anymore. After that, I told my mom, I was like, you know what, Mom, no more burritos. I want sandwiches only, and it's gotta be the white bread.
I've always been aware of my skin color, you know, I mean, kind of live with it every day. But when I became aware that I don't have to feed into those labels and accept it and wear it, you know, just because somebody said I had to, was maybe about a year ago. I had really been thinking about, what do I really care about? What do I really want? What makes me happy? And I started thinking, like, why don't you try loving yourself some more? You know, because you can't never love yourself enough. And if you're not loving yourself fully, you can't possibly do that for anyone else. That's when, really, I realized I'm Michael Brown, and I can be whatever I want to be, and I don't have to let anybody tell me what I am, period.
That was pretty freaking awesome, I'm not gonna lie. I'm already inspired by you.
I like putting good vibes in the air. I don't want to give my time and energy to bullshit, to negativity. I'd rather focus that energy towards something that I care about, something that's gonna help push me forward or help make my life a little bit easier, or the person right next to me, help make their life a little bit easier. Whenever a person encounters me, I want them to always understand and always feel that I'm somebody. I'm somebody that you want to have in your life, to be a friend.
And the last question is, have you ever caught yourself feeling biased or racist in any way towards another person or group?
I remember in a specific situation when I was with my friends, we heard a group of girls that were talking, you know, a couple feet away. They're Vietnamese girls. So in Mexican culture, you know, you refer to someone who, whether they're Pan-Asian, you would refer to them as Chino, which means Chinese. Mm-hmm. Obviously, not everyone's Chinese. So, you know, us being, you know, being dumb, we're like, oh, what do you think they're saying? And we're like, you know, something Chino. So we're like, Chino, 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 Chino. And the girls, they look at us and they're like, we're Vietnamese, know the difference, idiot. And we're just like, oh, dang, okay, Vietnamese.
You know, to be perfectly honest, I feel like I have those thoughts. It comes up all the time, every day. I'll catch myself having a thought or thinking something, and I'll be like, wow, where did that come from? Like, whose voice is that, you know? A lot of the thoughts that come up where I see myself judging somebody, I think that a lot of it is simply because I don't know the person, and I'm making assumptions. And if you just like have a 5-second conversation, you get to actually interact with someone, completely obliterates whatever thought that was. And having relationships with people that are different from you, for me, that's the most powerful tool.
We're like a cat chasing his tail. And that's what I think we're on right now. It's a long journey. Because you're journeying towards something that you created. But because I grew up in a close-knit family, I never thought about it, and I didn't even think about race until I came to California. And I was like an adult. I was 17, 18 years old. And when I really saw how color shaped our life, I got very, very angry. And when I got so angry, I became a black Muslim.
And Aisha remained a black Muslim for more than 7 years. But eventually, this outlook no longer represented the world she saw around her, and she chose to expand her focus.
And I began to really question. I connected with another set of books called A Course in Miracles. So I was thinking, I have to get these books. So as I began to walk to the back to get the books, the person who was selling the books was Jerry Jampolsky. And so I asked him, I said, I'd like to get a set of these books. He said, we're out. I said, oh, good. If they were for me, you would have them. And he said, oh, no, come to my house in Tiburon. I was like, Tiburon? I'm not going to go to Tiburon. It's just a bunch of white people over there, and anything can happen to me over there. Absolutely anything. This is scary. And he said, oh, no, here's my address. You can get a set of the books. We'll have them there. When I came back from the conference, Sharif, my dearest friend, we ended up going to Tiburon that Thursday night to get a set of the books. And so as he began to start the session, he said, I want everybody to hold hands. So on this side was one white person, on this side was another white person. I was like, oh no. And he said, hold hands. And I was like, I'm not gonna hold these people's hands. And so I reached out and held hands. I closed my eyes and I began to have this experience where we're all connected and we're all joined. It's just one person, one human being. And at that point, I really lost the whole idea of how color separates us. I agree with Aaron that we all are racist. We all have thoughts that we feel bad about. But I think there's a rainbow of colors. And if we could see the colors that we are, I think that's really, really important for us to really see color and know that and celebrate color.
I'm really in a different place than I was because of everything I've just heard. And this moment, I'm also very inspired by a group like this that opens up their stories. I don't want there to be a wall between people. And I don't want to accept that. And I'm still in the process of learning how to connect when the connections are very difficult to deal with, I think.
Thank you all. We're closed now. And thank you for coming to the Racial Healing Circle.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I know all the players. Okay.
I thought tonight's circle went really, really well. And I think people really did a lot of heart work on themselves. And I say heart work because I think what most people don't realize is that once you create the safety and people can see each other as they are, then they can be kinder to each other.
I feel like everybody in the circle, they
They have acknowledged the fact that we all have racism inside of us because that's what this country was built on. That's what we were programmed to do, and we just have to change our programming. I feel like everybody in the circle, they understand and they see that in their own lives, and they see it in other people's lives also.
One of the things that I'm currently in the process of doing is looking to sustain the racial healing circles that we've established at UC Davis and to institutionalize them with the support of the Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. We know they're successful, the model, it works, it's replicable, and people are hungry for it. So many people have shared how positive and powerful the experience of participating in a circle has been for them. And with the continuation now of participants being trained as facilitators and circle keepers, they are having just profound transformations, revelations. I dare call it a revolution.
The swimming pool. This is Aisha's mission and vision. And when I joined her on this path that we've been going on doing almost 30 years now, my whole life changed. My life changed in ways that I didn't imagine.
What's next is a long, long story.
Every time I go home, my family asks this question. When are you coming home?
It is our hope to move to Ghana. And hope is things that are not seen. So I don't know. That's our hope. And we've turned the work over to the young people.
From now on, then, is for us to support them so that they can get the deep understanding of what it takes to do this work.
Present.